So if you joined earlier and you saw the intro screen, you might have seen the word Virabhadrasana. A lot of times during the practice, I'll shorten it to say Vira 1, but the full Sanskrit name is Virabhadrasana, and that is the warrior pose. And in yoga, we've got 3 warrior poses, Virabhadrasana 1, 2, and 3. And they are very empowering poses. I find them to be really strong. My virtual background, I think that's in settings, Mara. I know, there's lots of buttons with Zoom. But Virabhadrasana, like I said, is a very empowering pose. So you've got strong foundations through your feet, and it takes a lot of strength. And even when you feel a little wobbly in the pose, anytime I think that you revisit these asanas, you're always gaining strength, right? You're always getting a little bit better and becoming stronger. And usually about standing on your own 2 feet in the present moment. So there's a lot of times where I might reference that, especially in Virabhadrasana too. To get started though, set your blocks off somewhere to the side. We're gonna use these for balancing tonight. So you're gonna, if you don't have a block, I always use like something like a water bottle as a prop that you can be a little bit creative with. When I was in Wisconsin, I used dumbbells. That was fun. So something that you can press into the ground that'll give you a little bit of balance is what you're gonna want. And then we're gonna start in Supta, which means Supine Badakhanasana, or bound angle pose. So bring the soles of your feet together, and then you'll come to lay down on your back. Now, if this is a lot for your hips, and you do have 2 blocks or maybe pillows nearby, you can place them underneath your legs at a little angle or stuff the pillows under there. And try and find a place where you can rest your spine all the way down on the mat, so you feel support the entire length of your back and underneath your neck. We'll start our practice grounding down through our breath. So we're going to place one hand on top of your heart and one hand on top of your belly. Close your eyes so you can tune into the sound, the feeling of your breath. And so without making any adjustments just yet, notice how much your hands rise or fall. And then exhale your next breath out completely. Seal your lips. Inhale through your nose. Pause. And exhale through your nose. Pause. Begin to inhale again through your nose. See if you can focus first on rising that hand that's over your belly, and then rising the hand that's over your heart. Pause when you're full. Exhale, pull all the air out from your belly. And then your heart. Pause. Slowly of your belly. Then your heart. Pause. And then exhale, first from the belly, then behind the heart. Now continue to do this. And as you might know, anatomically, our lungs are not behind our belly. So we're not actually filling our belly with air. But what we're doing is we're consciously using our diaphragm to breathe. Quite often, especially sitting, we'll use a lot more of the muscles around our shoulders and our pectorals to actually lift our chest to breathe, instead of using that large diaphragm to pull down once the lungs inflate. And when that diaphragm pulls down, it pulls down into the space behind our navel. So to make sure that you're really getting full capacity, full use of your lungs, this is a really great tool to tune in to the feeling of your breath and the depth. Take one more inhale through your nose. And exhale. Release your hands. Bring them to the outside of your knees and gently close your knees. Then pull your knees into your chest. Give them a gentle squeeze. Find some compression. Notice here, when you compress your thighs into your ribs, how much harder it is to take a full breath in and out. There's a little bit of constriction. Move your hands behind your knees and gently roll the length of your spine on your mat. And don't make it too exaggerated just yet. Instead, tune into the space, those muscles really that run up and down the side of your practice for breathing. All right. Pause when you get all the way to the top. And you're going to come to a comfortable seat. All right, hands on your knees, sit up nice and tall. And we're going to move into a real gentle twist. So this is called half lotus twist. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take the top leg and you're going to bring it in so the outside of your foot comes as high up on your thigh as it can. And then you're going to work to press the top of your foot down over your thigh. Slowly start to twist over. I'm doing left leg to the left knee. Start to walk your left hand around, press it down right behind your spine, lift up nice and tall, inhale. And then exhale, twist. Work to keep your spine really straight. Press down through both sit bones so that just like a barbershop spiral, you're pivoting around that central column or pole of your spine. Now you might be able to take this back hand, reach around and find your toes on the other side. If you do that and you notice you start to slump in your low back, then instead use your hand and keep it placed behind your spine. So it's helping to keep that nice erect pull upright. There's no wobble at the base. Notice here if it is comfortable for your neck to gaze over your left shoulder, or if that becomes a little bit too much, in which case, just keep your chin in line with your sternum. No need to crank that neck too hard. Take an inhale. And then exhale, you'll slowly release. Switch sides. Placing that foot that was on the top now on the bottom, and then really manually taking that other leg, reaching the outside edge and pulling it as high up on your quad as you can go so that you can get maybe the outside of that foot right nestled into that hip crease. All right. Sit up nice and tall. Take your right knee, inhale, lift, and then exhale, starts. Inhale and exhale. Maybe you take that right hand, reach around, potentially you can find those toes and hold on. Notice though, if that creates any slumping in your spine, and if so, plant that hand back down under at the base of your spine to give you some extra support, like a sistering, right? Little extra structure next to that spine. Take a deep inhale and exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. Slowly unwind. Inhale, come back to center. Unwind your feet. Then we're going to move into some ab work. So in our warriors, there's a lot of attention placed on the feet, but we want to warm up the abdominals to make sure that they're there to support our core. If you have two blocks, you're going to pull them in right at your hips as you roll down. Bring your legs up and you want them high. And these are just kind of like a guideline. So if you don't have two props tonight, it's no big deal. You're just going to have to be your own judge. Flex your feet and then open your knees out wide. So this is called frog abs. You want these blocks to be right pressed up against the inside of your thighs. Flex your feet. Open your arches up towards the ceiling. Interlace your palms. Inhale. See if you can press your low back up. And then exhale, curl both elbow tips straight through. Inhale, lower down. See if you can keep the top of your shoulders hovering. And then exhale, you're going to bring left elbow to left knee. So the blocks are there to make sure you're not using your legs to draw them up. Instead, this is a side crunch. Inhale, come back to the center. Exhale, curl through center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, right elbow to right knee. Now don't move your knee, instead use all upper body strength to get there. Inhale, center. Exhale, curl through center. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, left side. Finding a compaction in the left obliques. Inhale, center. Exhale, curl up through center. Keep pressing your low back down into the mat. Spiral your inner thighs and inner calves up to the ceiling. Exhale, right side. Inhale, come back to center. Lower down. Last time. Exhale, curl, hold. Maybe release your hands, reach them through your legs. We'll stay here for one breath. And then slowly release down. Bring your hands to the outside of your knees again. And gently close them, bring them down. Whew. Move the blocks out of the way. Press your feet down into the mat and inhale slowly. Lift your hips up, coming into a gentle bridge pose. With your hands, reach down and find the outside, the edges of your mat, and roll your fingers over, thumbs on top. Walk your shoulders underneath your chest so you start to open in your chest. And press down more through the big toe mounts. Inhale, hips rise. Exhale, pull your arms apart as though you could split your mat right down the center. Feel your chest open and lift towards the ceiling. Keep grounded in your feet. Inhale. The more you press with your feet, the more your hips rise. And not so much from the work of the glutes, but instead from a firm, grounded foundation. Feel the weight gently roll to the top of your back, maybe even to the back of your shoulders. And continue to draw your knees towards each other. So unlike Supine Badakhanasana, where we started, our knees aren't dropping out to the side and our feet are really firmly planted inside and outside edge. One more breath in. Exhale, slowly lower down. Release the grip of the mat from your hands. Now what we're going to do is a little, very subtle abdominal movement. Feet straight up towards the ceiling. You're going to bring your hands out by your side, palms down. Inhale. Exhale by pressing your low back down. See if you can lift your feet straight up. And you might see from the screen, it's a very, very small movement. It's almost the size of just a paper that can hover or slip rather between your glutes, your low back, and the mat. Inhale, lower, activate your legs. If you have a block, it's also can be nice to squeeze it in between your leg and then exhale, press up. See if you can keep your head grounded. Inhale, and then exhale, slow lift. And you feel this right across the bottom of your abdominals from hip point to hip point. Last time, inhale, exhale, press to your feet straight up. Inhale, lower your hips down. So you feel that grounding, you feel that stacking of your legs into your hips, ground them on the mat. And then exhale, slowly bring your legs down just to a point right before your low back lifts. Inhale, come back up. Squeeze the block if you still have it between your legs. Don't maybe use a heavy water bottle for this one. And then exhale, lower down very slowly and controlled, just to that point before your low back lifts off the mat. Inhale, pull your feet up. And exhale, slowly lower down. Bend your knees and plant them on the ground. So we're going to move back into our bridge pose, but this time we're going to add a little something. So we're going to move into a quad stretch, half Virasana, or also known as half hero's pose. All right, just a moment. Let me see what's going on with this. Just going to turn off my Wi-Fi and use. All right, I think that's going to be better for the video. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Much better. All right, so half hero's pose. Now, if you do have a block or a cushion, you might want to use this to place it at medium height underneath your hips as you lift up. If you don't have the block, you can do this without, or you can take something like a pillow and again, press it, place it underneath your hips. Don't squish your cat though. All right, hands down. And then press the back of your hands into the mat. Inhale, lift your right knee up. Exhale, you're going to bring the foot down, capture it with your right hand, and pull it in so that the top of your right foot presses down into the mat. Work it higher up so that you can bring your right knee forward. Now, this is a very intense pose on your knees as well. Your hips will start to lower down. So if this is too much on your knees, you can always just keep a bridge pose, or if you really want a quad stretch, do the same thing on your belly and just reach back for one leg and gently draw it in. So the additional weight of your hips in half Virasana makes this quad stretch really intense. So again, I'll demonstrate. You'll lift your hips up, lift the right leg up, bring the toe down, grab that foot with your hand, pull it in. So you press the top of that foot down into the mat, keep the right knee drawing in, and then your glutes are going to slip by your heel. Pull the right knee forward, let your hips lower down. Your left knee stays bent, foot pressed into the mat. And then you breathe, because it feels a little bit like your leg is now a rubber band pulled very tight. This is also a great way to flush out blood in your kneecap. Take a deep breath in. Another thing that can happen in this pose is sometimes your foot will cramp a little bit when you press the top of it down into the mat. So if you get that sensation, press a little bit more. Instead of kind of easing out, see if you press more through your foot down through the top. It might actually ease that cramping. And then slowly come out. So you'll lift your hips up, mostly through the left leg, slip the right foot back forward. All right. Reach your hands, back of your palms down. Inhale, lift up evenly, finding bridge pose again. And then lift the left knee in. Bring the left tiptoes down. Reach with the left hand, capture that left foot, and then pull it in. Working it up and then rolling onto the top of the left foot. Slowly lower your hips down. They might not come down to the mat. Mine kind of hover. And you'll feel your glutes slipping to the inside of that left heel. Reach and stretch your left foot forward. Again, as an alternative, you can take this on your belly, reaching your hand back and capturing your foot. Continue to breathe here. Noticing where you feel the deepest sensation of this pose. And noticing if your breath started to quicken, especially in poses where you want to move through them fast. See if you can work on drawing your breath still all the way down to your navel. So making sure that your diaphragm is doing the work. Relax your shoulders. Draw your left knee forward. Take another breath in and out. Activate that right leg. Press through the right foot to slip your left leg back out. Plant your left foot down. Inhale, bring both hips up. And then exhale, slowly lower both hips down. Slowly draw in both knees. Give them a gentle squeeze. Bring them out to the side. And we'll actually move right into happy baby pose. Feet up towards the ceiling. Reach for the outside of your feet. Fingers over the top so that your elbows are actually to the inside of your knees. Lower your spine down. So try and take any lift out of your pelvis so that from the top to the bottom, your spine is supported in the mat. Then flex your feet. Inhale, press your feet up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, pull down, anchor with your hands, and feel all the way across your shoulders a pressure down into the mat. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale, legs active, arms active. It's a tug of war where nobody is winning and nobody is gaining an inch. And exhale, let your hands slip. Again, bring your hands behind your knees and gently roll forward and back on your mat. Waking up the spine. Massaging those knotty lines, those energy lines that run up and down along your spine on the left and the right side. And then you'll eventually come forward, plant your hands, and find yourself in a forward fold at the front of your mat. Our hamstrings aren't opened yet, so you can take this forward fold a little bit. Let your knees gently bend so your thighs rest, or your ribs rather rest on your thighs, and let your neck hang. Let it just dangle. Actively press through your feet. So right here, we're starting to get into that sensation of deep grounding and how much that supports our poses. So feel and even look at your feet here in your Uttanasana forward fold. Press down more through your heels. Notice how that might bring a little bit more straightness, more lift into your hip points. Inhale and exhale. Then pressing through your feet, inhale, start to stack up. Once you get to the top, shoulders over your hips. If you were out wide, then heel toe yourself in. So your feet are hip width distance apart, nice and stacked. Inhale, reach your arms up. And then exhale, with your right or left hand, grab your right wrist and start to reach overhead. Now, notice how you might start to get a little bit light on that outside foot. Keep it grounded. Press down, get a nice side body stretch. Yeah. Don't let yourself roll in or out, just into that side body. Inhale, both fingertips up. Exhale over to the opposite side. Then keeping your feet firmly grounded in the mat. Inhale, come up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press into your shins, lift up halfway. Then exhale, plant your hands, step back into a plank pose. Breathe in your plank, and then exhale, lower all the way down to your mat. Press the tops of your feet down, hands under your shoulders. Inhale, lift your chin, chest up. Ground down through your hands and draw your shoulder heads back. Feel you even start to lift your gaze, bringing a nice curvature all the way along your spine. Exhale, slowly roll down. Tuck your toes, inhale, press up and back, downward facing dog. So we're going to use this down dog to start to stretch out our legs a little bit more before we bring the heat into our legs. So spread your fingers, press into the mat, bend your knees gently, and reach your hips as far away from your hands as you can. Relax your head down so your gaze is back by your toes. Inhale, activate your arms. Imagine as though you could squeeze your elbow tips towards each other. Exhale, see if you can shift the energy down the back of your legs and down through your heels. One more time, inhale, press into your hands, shimmy your hips up high. Exhale, heels down. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or take a little hop to the front of your mat, Uttanasana, forward fold. Then from here, we're gonna bend our knees. We're gonna start to move into Utkatasana. So I like to do this with feet hip width distance apart. Good trick of measurement is bring both fists down in between your big toe mounts. Then keep your feet grounded from there. Bend your knees. Start to move the weight back. Reach your hands forward. See if you can keep your hips grounded and then start to lift just your chest up. Fingertips maybe forward, maybe up towards the sky. It's a good test here as to how open your shoulders are. So if you start to find a really big swale in your low back and a release in your torso, you might be overcompensating for not such open shoulders. So check the ego, bring the arms maybe a little bit more forward. Inhale. Exhale, bring your hands down through heart center, ground, bend your knees. Inhale, arms up, stretch up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, Arda Uttanasana, lift halfway. Press down through your feet. Now I'd like you to lift your toes off the mat. Keep the pad, toes, grounded down, but just your actual toes lifting up. All right, and then hands come down, step or jump back, lower down, this time halfway if you'd like. Kick your toes through and then inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. All right, so we're gonna move into our first warrior. Inhale, lift your left leg high. And then exhale, step your left foot forward by your left hand. So from a front view, left foot by left hand. You're gonna gaze down the length of your body, take that right foot and ground the heel down. You wanna make sure you can pull the left hip back, Bring the right hip forward in such a way that you feel really grounded here. Then start to sweep your arms up. Hips and shoulders are facing forward in the lunge. So this is Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1 pose. So the biggest trick to this pose is the hips. Left hip grounding back, right hip coming forward. And so to get that to happen, a lot of times adjustments are moving the left foot, the front foot out to the side so that you have more room to square your hips forward. Another thing is this back leg. Sometimes people get a little lazy in the back leg. Actively press. So the knife edge is feeling a lot of pressure down. Now, if having your toes out to the side gets a little bit tweaky on the inside of that back knee, you can always lift your heel up. So in some books, and actually in Darren Rhodes' book of asanas, which I like to reference a lot, high lunge is called a variation of Virabhadrasana 1. So just a little piece of wisdom you can put in your back pocket. So you're not cheating if you lift your heel. It's just a variation. All right, stretch both of your arms up and engage your core. Check in with all that core work we did earlier. And then see if you can draw your left knee more forward over that left heel. So it's a lot of slow work in finding the foundation, your fingertips up. As your fingertips reach up, make sure that you still feel that grounding down through the front foot and then through the back foot. Take a breath in. Exhale, plant both hands down, step back to plank. Take a breath in. Exhale, lower down halfway or all the way. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, sweep the right leg up. Exhale, step the right foot forward and bring it by the right fingertips. So again, we want to set ourselves up so that we have enough room to keep our hips square or towards square. So you might want to walk that right foot out if you made that adjustment on the left side. Gaze down the left leg, step it in, and then ground your left heel down. Inhale, sweep both of your arms up, and then start by bringing them to your hips so that you can start to check in with how much farther back maybe this left hand feels to the right. Potentially moving the right foot out to the side, and then pressing more actively, more strongly through that left leg can start to help you draw the left foot forward. If you had a very, very long lunge, then you might also just need to walk that back foot in a little bit. All right. Then once you feel a firm foundation in your legs, you notice that you're pressing down, but you're not pressing out of the pose. So instead, keep that right knee over the right ankle, hips ground, and then pinning your hips in space, start to reach your fingertips up so that you can lengthen your torso. So if you don't have that grounding, that firm foundation, as you lift, you can kind of just float off like a balloon. You don't get a deeper stretch or depth of the practice. So keep down in that lunge. Feel, again, that pulling back, really grounding in to our base with that right leg. Take another inhale. And then exhale, plant both hands down, step back, plank. You can always take modification, the balance vinyasa between these poses and just go straight back into downward facing dog. Inhale in your down dog and exhale. Inhale, look forward. Exhale all of the air out on empty, step, or hop to the front of your mat. Thighs, ribs meet, sit down and back. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Again, see if you can curl your toes up. Keep your pads and your heels grounded down. You're going to feel your legs turn on and activate to support you, your lower legs. Sit down and back, reach your fingertips up. Take a breath in and out. Inhale, press through your legs, come to standing. And then exhale, bring your hands down to heart center. So the easiest grounding pose, little reset between sides. We'll start to add in a little bit more balance to our Virabhadrasana 1. Warrior 1. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press into your shins, lift halfway. Exhale, plant your hands, step back. Inhale, reach forward into plank. Exhale, lower down halfway. Kick your toes back, reach your chest through, upward facing dog. Pull your heels towards each other. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg high. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Ground your right heel down, toes out to the side of your mat. Inhale, sweep your fingertips up, Virabhadrasana 1. Again, if you like to place your hands on your hips to start, get a good physical feeling for square hips, active back leg, and then stretch up. Okay, so from here, we're gonna add a little bit of balance to our Warrior 1 pose. So you'll start to move more weight into that left foot and begin to lift the right heel up. Keep your gaze in front of you and let just my voice guide you through this transition. So you're looking at something stable that's not moving. Begin to transfer the weight up, bring your right knee up. So you're standing on just your left foot, kind of like a Karate Kid on the beach move. Keep a gentle bend in that left knee, and then you're gonna wrap your right leg around. Wrap your right arm under your left. Sweeping into Garundasana, Eagle Pose. So from the front, you want a little check-in. It's easier to get this top leg over the bottom leg if this bottom leg is bent and this top leg is bent as you make that transition. You can hook your toes around your calf, or if they don't quite get there, just press the outside of your foot against the outside of your calf. If the arms are a little bit hard to get, the clasping of the hands, then another variation is just to grab opposite shoulder. Again, pull your navel in. And then you're going to keep the arms. Again, come into that Karate Kid, right leg lifted, and then step the right foot back, coming into a high lunge, and then bringing the right foot down. This time, so that your right foot is parallel with the back of the mat. And now we're set up in a Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2 pose. Okay, so from here, gaze down at your feet. The front heel is gonna line up with the inside arch of your right foot in the back. Square yourself to the side of your mat. Fingers, hands going right down the center, like they're your sternum. And then you're going to tip forward, down, and up the back with your arms, like a windmill. Getting a nice stretch into your hip flexors. One more big rotation. All right, and then once you come back to center, slowly unwind your arms, stretch them out, and cartwheel them down to frame your front foot. Step back. Inhale, exhale, lower down halfway. Kick your toes back, pull your chest through. And then flip over, downward facing dog. All right, right leg lifts, inhale. Exhale, step the right foot forward by the right hand. Ground your left heel down. Pull your right femur head back and then inhale, rise up. Virabhadrasana 2, second side. Pull your knee forward. Again, you can do a little physical check with your hips, hands on hips. And then settle into your warrior 1. So again, you feel just how much strength there is with the grip of your feet into the mat. Open your chest, reach through your fingers. So you find lift, but not without keeping the bottom half of your body strong and grounded, a support. All right, then begin to transition, lifting the left heel up, moving the weight into the right foot, and then you'll step forward. Karate Kid, left leg lifted. Keep the right knee bent, and then Garundasana legs, eagle legs. Left leg over right. Sweet left arm under right. Hands come to shoulders. Sit down and back. Pull your fingertips up and sit your hips down. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, press through the right leg. Slowly lift the left leg up. Karate Kid on the beach pose, and then step your left foot back. Slow transition. Keep your arms in your Virabhadrasana or your Garundasana, eagle arms, and then place your left foot down. So that back foot down on the mat, parallel to the back of the mat. Hands are still in your eagle pose. Draw your right knee forward. So you're back in your warrior 2 now on the second side. And then hips are squared now to the side of the mat. So you start to feel some of the differences. And then we're going to find those rotation in our hip flexors. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, rotate down. See if you can keep your feet where they are and just move the upper body. Windmill through one more time with your breath. And then come to center. Again, hands and sternum down between both legs. Unwrap, wrap your arms, stretch them out. Take an inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale, cartwheel both hands down. Lift your back leg. And then step back. This time, you're going to just bring both knees down to the mat. So before we move into our Virabhadrasana 2 flow, we're going to, again, stretch a little bit more in our shoulders and work on some upper body strength between. So we're going to do turbo dog. You might have remembered this from previous classes. If not, this is a great pose that you can also just put into any vinyasa flow to really work on a strong upper back and shoulders. So what you're going to do is plant your hands down on the mat, shoulder width distance apart. I'm going to show this from front and then from side. So shoulder width distance apart, and then drop your elbows down to hover. Pull your elbow tips in towards each other. Keep pressing down. You'll notice that your thumbs might get a little bit light. Keep them gripping down into the mat like you were opening a jar of peanut butter to the inside, but then elbow tips come in. So a lot of engagement. Now from the side, what that looks like. Elbow tips are hovering and drawing in. Gaze down at the space between your forearms so that you can be your own judge, making sure that your elbows don't touch down. Tuck your toes and lift your hips and knees up off of the mat. Hold your hands, elbows stay lifted. There is a lot of work going on in our upper back. So this is the type of strength that you need when we start to go into inversions, like handstand, forearm stand. Keep pulling those elbow tips towards each other. Take another inhale and then exhale. Bring your knees down. Come to sit back on your heels, Thunderbolt Pose. So hopefully you started to feel not only, upper back, shoulders, but then this activation that really occurs on the outside of your shoulder down the length of your side body. So not obliques, because those are lower, but above that, this kind of wrapping in. So another pose where we find that is Dolphin Pose. So now we're going to come down and do Dolphin Pose. Don't worry, it's easier than Turbo Dog, I think. Bring your forearms down again. If your shoulders started to get a little fatigued, interlace your hands, press the pinky edge down. Otherwise, again, keep palms down, fingers wide, gripping into the mat. Release your neck so it's, in this pose, nice and loose. So your gaze is back towards your knees. Tuck your toes. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, heels come down. Again, press your palms down into the mat. And then pull your elbow tips towards each other so they don't roll out to the side. Inhale, walk your feet in. And then exhale, press with your forearms into the mat. Shift the weight evenly so there's more weight in your heels. Inhale, maybe walk your feet in a little bit higher. You can move hip points up. And then exhale, feel that energy. Ground down the back of your legs. Your heels are reaching towards the mat. Take another breath here and out. Then lower your knees down to the mat. We'll move into Anahata Asana. Keep your booty right over your knees. Walk your hands forward. And then with elbows lifted, melt your head and your heart down. So your torso is kind of just hanging off of the peak of your hips. Feeling a stretch in your shoulders, and then a stretch in those muscles that we were working, serratus anterior. Serratus exterior, serratus exterior. Feel lengthening down the side bodies from your pinky to your hip. And then slowly come forward. Pull your hands in under your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Lift hips up and back. Downward facing dog. So now we'll do a little bit of work with Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So in this one, our hips are open to the side. So we're going to do a lot of movement forward and back on our mat. Now, you are going to want to just bring your knees down. If you are using a prop, you want to have that somewhere near the front of your mat for some balance, a little bit of extension for our hands. And come back into your downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, step your left foot forward. This time you want to bring it more towards the middle of your mat. So the first difference in your foot placements. Then gazing down the length of your body, pivot on the ball of your foot and plant your right foot down so that the outside edge of that foot is parallel with the back of your mat. Bend deeper into your front leg so that your knee stacks over your hips. Then reach the right arm up and let that windmill you open. Virabhadrasana 2. So it's a very wide open pose. Place your left hand actually on the inside of your thigh. Let your fingertips come down to your hamstring and then just manually open it. Right away, you might notice, especially if your hand was on your back leg, that starts to turn in. So we want to open, open, strong, stable back leg. So not letting that hip turn in. Okay, so you might want to try that one more time, but this time maybe use your hand to anchor your right hip. Keep your right foot firmly grounded. And then from there, hover your arms up. So in a lot of traditional yoga, you'll have your drishti or your gaze over your front fingers. In forest yoga, which is a lot of the yoga that I practiced in the beginning, the gaze is actually more so that your chin is lined up with your sternum. So a lot of times I still find myself doing that in class, and I kind of enjoy it. So, you would choose which one feels better for you. So gaze can be in the middle or gaze can be forward. One thing I notice is when my gaze is forward over my front fingers, I tend to pitch my torso forward. And you want to make sure that you correct yourself if you find yourself hovering back or leaning forward, and instead, just like the very hard sport of surfing, you need to find that balance right in the middle of the board, right? So you don't endo over the front and the wave doesn't catch the back of your board and flip you over, right? So surf right in the middle. Okay, and then from here, again, keeping the torso centered, you're gonna let the back hand go down your back right leg and lift your left hand up. So extended or reverse warrior rather. In this pose, make sure that you're not pivoting side to side, but instead focusing on the side body, keeping your core engaged and really pulling that hip away from your grounded front thigh. Again, think about spinning the inside of that thigh externally to keep your hips nice and open to the side. Inhale, come back up into Virabhadrasana 2. And then exhale, extended side angle. So 2 options. You can bring your elbow down just above your knee and then sweep your right arm overhead, or you can bring your front hand down to the inside of that front leg. Now I really like to, in my extended side angle, make sure that the arm is an extension of my side body and really brings energy from the grounded bottom foot up out through my fingers in a nice straight angle. I know some people like straight up, but for me, you can get a really nice stretch here by instead bringing your fingers forward at an angle. Ground down through your shoulder so you're not lifting out that arm from your shoulder girdle, but instead engaging it. Feel your hamstrings turn on. Inhale, come back up, Virabhadrasana 2. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale up, Virabhadrasana 2. Exhale, extended side angle. All right, and then from here, we're gonna add on a little bit of balance. So you're gonna bring your hand down to your right hip, and then you're gonna bring your left hand down and now move it to the outside of your left foot. And if you're using a block or a prop, you're gonna find that prop, start to walk that left hand forward, lift your back heel and slowly transition forward. So you can drag your foot across the ground, plant your right or your left hand down. It's going to be off the pinky side edge forward and then out to the side. Press down, start to lift the right leg up. Use your hand on your hip on the inside to stack your hips so your hips stay square. So same hip position as in Warrior 2. This is a nice balancing pose that complements that hip position. You can keep your gaze down or move it out to the side and keep that hand grounded or lift it straight up. For a great alignment, you want to stack your arms so they're perpendicular to the ground. And then lifted leg is parallel, grounded leg is perpendicular to the ground. Take a breath in and a breath out. So this is called Arda Chandrasana or half moon pose. Just a really big anatomical though, or alignment breakdown getting into here today. And to come down, bring your hand back to your hip, bend your front leg, step back, inhale, warrior two, and then exhale, you'll cartwheel both hands down, lift the back heel and step back, coming into plank. Again, you can move through a vinyasa, a connecting vinyasa, or skip it and go straight into downward facing dog. Take a full round of breath here. And then we'll move on to the right side. Inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, step your right foot forward. All right. Round the back heel down. And then inhale, using your left hand, cartwheel yourself up. Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2 on the second side. So again, front heel lines up with the inside of the arch. You want the outside of your foot parallel with the back of your mat. Bend your front knee generously. Hands to your hips. So take a couple breaths in. You can take one hand again to the back leg, one hand to the in. So finding that external rotation in the front leg without letting the back hip draw in. So again, that's a little bit of a give and take. Then let your arms float back up. Decide if you'd like to gaze over your front fingers or keep your chin in line with your sternum. Inhale, exhale. Again, notice where your torso is, if you're leaning forward or back. Maybe that surfboard analogy works for you. Another one that is commonly used in Virabhadrasana 1 is noticing where your torso is and potentially where you are in the present moment. Are you, kind of dragging back, stuck in a history or a story? Are you constantly reaching forward, worry about the end game and not so much about the middle, the present moment? So that can be another really good way to check yourself when you come into this pose, mentally and physically. Take a breath in and exhale, reverse warrior. Bend that front knee a little bit more generously. Again, inhale and exhale. Seeing if you can pull that hip point a little bit farther away from the front leg. Then inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, extended side angle. Reaching forward, making sure your fingertips are lined up. Inhale, exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale, exhale, extended side angle. All right, and then from here, we're gonna move into our half moon pose. Bring your hand down, bring your left hand to your left hip, find that prop, slowly transition forward, press through your standing leg, open your hips, bring that lifted back leg to hover, and then stack your hands. Shoulders and hips are still parallel, or in the same plane rather. Breathe in and breathe out. Inhale and exhale. Slowly start to bend your front knee, step back, warrior two. I just checked my watch and I cannot believe, but it is 7 o'clock. We have not gotten to Virabhadrasana 3. So I think this will be a 2-part series class. I think I spoke too much about anatomy. So we're gonna do warrior 3 next week. We're gonna have a really quick run through of 1 and 2, but warrior 3 is a lot on the legs. So cartwheel down, lift your back heel, step back, and then lower your knees down to the mat. Sit back in a Thunderbolt pose. So where your hips come down onto your heels, spine is nice and tall, and hands are rested. If this is too much on your knees, you can always pull in a block or a pillow between glutes and heels. And so because tonight is to be continued, we will end tonight's class in this seated position. Hands down on our thighs, shoulders back, nice open torso, and very grounded, strong legs. Gently bring your eyes to close. Let the breath slip in and out easily through your nose. There's a text, the Bhagavad Gita, that is often used to reference the work that we do in our warrior poses, the empowerment that can be felt. And so I'm going to read it verbatim because it's so eloquent. In this yoga text, it says, on this path, no effort is wasted. No gain is ever reversed. Even a little of this practice will shelter you from great sorrow. And so in tonight's practice, I hope that you are able to really tune into the placement of your feet, your hips, gaining some spatial awareness, which so often we overlook in our day-to-day life. How we posture our body and how we can stack and align ourselves for a nice, strong, and fierce way to approach life. Gathering your strength, drawing it in towards midline, but keeping grounded. Gently draw your hands together to heart center. Let your thumbs rest on your sternum. Take a deep breath in and out. And inhale, draw your thumbs up to third eye center. Be curious. Follow your bliss. Namaste.